If you love Baltimore sports, you'll love WNST.net.
Bill Staley takes over the soccer team as the owner, and there was a preseason tournament every year in Dayton, Ohio, where all the teams in the league would converge on this practice facility, and you would play 2 days worth of games. You took 30 or 35 players with you, and we used it to try to trim some guys off the roster. It's the first time Bill bought the team in June or July. This is September. We go to the games. Bill comes up into the facility, had this concession stand / food area up above, and it was a really good place to watch the action because you were up above the arena. So I'm sitting up there watching it, and Bill comes in with his daughter, Tiffany. He comes in, he sits down, we're watching the game. He says, I want to go down on the bench. I said, Bill, I'm not so sure that's a good idea. He said, no. I want to take Tiffany and I want to go down on the bench to watch the game down there close. I said, Bill, it's awful. These guys are playing for jobs. It's awfully intense. He said, we'll be fine. I said, okay. So at halftime, he goes down there and he stands on the bench while Kenny and the guys go in the locker room. And when they come back out, Bill and his daughter are leaning on the dashboard. They're on the bench. Bill, the owner, and his daughter are leaning on the bench. So Kenny looks up at me. I'm way up in the rafters, and he's like, dude, WTF? And I have no idea. So the game goes on. The game ends. We get in the car. Kenny, Bill, and I and Tiffany are going back to the hotel, and there's like this eerie silence in the car. Bill isn't saying anything, and I'm like, something's not right, but I don't really know what it is. So we park the car, and Bill says, Tiff, why don't you wait inside? He said, I want to talk to Kenny and Drew for a second. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? He says, Coach, I gotta bring something. Well, you remember this story?
Yeah, very well.
Tell you, right?
Very well. Yes.
He says, Coach, let's go get a beer. So we go sit in the bar in the hotel, and he says, Coach, I gotta tell you, I got a problem. And he says, what's that, Bill? And he said, I had no idea that soccer players swore like that. And here all along, I wasn't sure if I thought he was mad about. I didn't know what he was mad about, but I knew something wasn't right. And then I'm like, oh, thank God for this. This has got to be almost like half a joke. And Bill said, I bought the team not really knowing all of this, Kenny. I don't really like all this foul language. Kenny says, are you serious? Bill said, I'm very serious. He said, I brought my daughter down there on the bench. And I definitely didn't like the language I was hearing with her there. And it was like the watershed moment. I thought, oh my God, what's Kenny going to say? And Kenny said, well, with all due respect, sir, your daughter doesn't belong on the bench. And Bill just looked at him and said, okay, you might be right about that. Kenny said, Bill, guys use bad language in soccer. That's what they do. But your daughter would never hear that because she never would be on the bench.
Guys use bad language in radio, too.
As we found out this morning. Right. So, anyway, that was one of those moments where I was like, oh, this is going to be good. Let's see how the coach gets out of this one. And Kenny said, your daughter doesn't belong on the bench. And I was like, oh, my God.
And then in the very same game, and you may remember this, but we had a couple
he made all the players vow not to swear the next game.
Correct. And we had a couple of guys. It was single guys that like the ladies, and at the time, Prince Mike was single, and he looked down at Bill and saw this blonde girl, Tiffany, beautiful, and he goes, Coach, who is she with? Right? And I think he thought she was with Bill. He didn't realize it was his daughter, right? And the game's going on, and Stankovic is looking at this beautiful girl, and the game's going on, and he misses his getting on the floor, so we're playing with a man short, right? But that was the funny things that used to happen in soccer.
Hey, let's talk about some of the.
If you love Baltimore sports, you'll love WNST.net.